Good morning and welcome to our Sunday school lesson today on Judges chapter 17. If you're at home, you can go ahead and get your Bible out. It's Judges 17. For those of you in the sanctuary, we welcome you. Before we start, I want to ask you a question. It's a biblical question, okay? In the Bible, who was the greatest comedian? In the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, who was the greatest comedian? Samson. He brought the house down. For those of you at home, people are getting up and walking out. Remember last week we studied about, okay. People at home would just click, I'm sorry folks, but I just couldn't resist that. There on the screen, before we have prayer, you see two of my favorite actors. Don Knotts, who played Barney Fife, got 5 Emmys for his performance of Deputy Barney Fife. And then there's Rowan Atkinson from Great Britain. Got his start on the BBC with Blackadder, but then came really famous with Mr. Bean. Now, some people say that they think I look like Mr. Bean. So what I have here are pictures of two of my favorite comedians. Here I have Barney Fife, a Christmas ornament that I got several years ago, and here I have a bubblehead of Mr. Bean. Now, because I think these two men, one dead, one alive, are great comedians. Notice I didn't say great men necessarily. Great comedians, great actors. Rowan Atkinson has received numerous awards from Great Britain, and I believe he was even knighted by the Queen for his comedy acts. What if I were to tell you, what if, that I have these at home so every day I could see them as my idols and I worship them? What would you think and what would you say to my idols? Okay, Barney would say, I'm just plain nuts. We would need to have talk, to be counseled. Anything else you would say if these become my idols whom I worship? Nip it in the bud. What? We'll get a new Sunday school teacher, yeah. Go back to Scripture and see what it says. What we're going to learn today is no different than Barney and Mr. Bean. Okay, there's really no difference as we attempt to unpack chapter 17. So let's pray and we'll get to the lesson. Father God, as we study your lesson today, I pray you'd be with me. I pray you'd be with the audience here, and you'd be with the audience at home, that we would learn something from Judges 17 about Micah, his mom, his sons, the Levite, that we can apply to ourselves today. That's my prayer in Christ's name. Amen. So last week, Judges 16, here's how it ended according to Timothy Keller. We have a dead judge. We have an incomplete rescue of God's people. Samson was the last judge. Now, many commentators suggest that the story that we're about to unpack today and the remaining 4 chapters, there's 5 more chapters in the book of Judges, they all took place between the time of Joshua and the judges, the 12 judges. These commentators suggest it did not take place after Samson's death necessarily, but between Joshua, who's been dead for quite some time, and those 12 judges, which spanned several hundred of years. I don't know if that's important. I called Randy. I said, Randy, is that important? He said, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's really important, that time span. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Because I'm like, until I did the research, when Samson died in chapter 16, and he was a judge for 20 years, and his family came and got him, that's the end of chapter 16. At the very beginning of chapter 17, I thought this happened immediately after Samson's death. Well, some of these commentators, whom I greatly respect, suggest no. The time span could have been during those 300 to 400 years of judges leading up to Samson. So if you've got a good Bible commentary, look at that and see what they say. I will say this, according to Keller, regardless of your time sequence, idolatry and division and strife will spread throughout the remaining 5 chapters. If the story in Micah and idolatry happened prior to Judges, then it would explain why many of those judges had to battle those false gods. Keller goes on to say, this is a case of one family, but we can glean a picture of Israel from them, because these families have a problem. Keller says, and because families are foundational to society, to the church, and to the nation, Keller says this story in chapter 17 is scary. And it's going to snowball. It's going to start with one man. And we'll talk about him in just a minute. His name is Micah. It then goes to his mother. Then goes to one of Micah's sons. It's then going to go to a Levite priest from Bethlehem. And then, as we're going to learn next Sunday, it's going to go to the tribe of Dan. And then it's going to go to the entire 12 tribes of Israel. All of this is going to start with one man and his family. And it's going to go downhill. One commentator said this, and then we'll move on. Some commentators suggest to their readers, don't read the last 5 chapters. Don't read the last 5 chapters of Judges because of what takes place. And I'm kind of excited to teach those 5 lessons. I've always enjoyed going upstream. So we'll see what happens with these 5 lessons. So we're going to take a look at our first PowerPoint from Judges 17. Keller says, chapter 17 to 21 are a bird's eye view of the life in Israel, as people did evil in the eyes of the Lord. In those days, there was no king in Israel. We're going to hear that 3 more times. There was no king in Israel. There was no king in Israel. People did what they wanted to do. Does that sound familiar today? People do what they wanted to do. Were there no standards? Were there no standards? From a biblical standpoint, who sets the standards? From a biblical standpoint, who sets the standards? God. In both the Old and the New Testament, would you agree? We're going to learn in this chapter, in the beginning of this chapter, man sets the standards. And if man sets the standards of right and wrong and good and bad, what's our problem? Pardon? It's fouled up from the beginning because your standards may not be like mine, and mine may not be like yours. We have a mess. Okay? So we're going to take a look at this second PowerPoint. It's going to be a map because you can see the country of Ephraim, which is where this is going to be happening. But I want you to take a look at Dan, colored there in the green next to Ephraim, because that's the tribe of Dan is going to be chapter 18 and 19. And whoa, Nelly, are things going to be happening. But notice the tribe of Dan, Ephraim, Benjamin, and Judah, which is where Bethlehem is, all are adjacent to one another. Kind of like Georgia touching Alabama and Georgia touching South Carolina. These tribes are adjacent to one another. And maybe that could be a problem. So let's read the first 4 verses, okay, of Judges chapter 17. First 4 verses. Samson is dead. His parents came and buried him. He ruled for 20 years. Chapter 17. Now a man named Micah from the hill country of Ephraim said to his mother, the 1,100 shekels of silver that were taken from you, and about which I heard you utter a curse, I had that silver with me. I took it. Then his mother said, the Lord bless you, my son. I don't know about you. I know what Glenna Shepherd would have said. 227 Carter Boulevard, Seymour, Indiana. Mom would have written down what I did, and when Dad got home at 5:30 from the shirt factory, Mom would have handed what I did, and then the patriarch would take over. And Mom would watch discipline being given. But notice what Mom said. The Lord bless you, my son. When he returned the 1,100 shekels of silver to his mother, she said, I solemnly consecrate my silver to the Lord. That's pretty good, right? If you stop there, is that okay? I solemnly consecrate the silver to my Lord, period. Is that okay? But I know, I know the sentence doesn't end there. For my son to make an image overlaid with silver. I'll give it back to you. Mother, yes. 1,100? Let's find out. So after he returned the 1,100 shekels of silver to his mother, she took 200 shekels of silver and gave them to a silversmith who used them to make an idol, and it was put in Micah's house. Okay? Now, a couple of questions. He stole 1,100 shekels of silver from his mom. Do you think he has a love of money? Yeah. Yes. Now, here again, a lot of the questions I'm going to be asking are not answered in Scripture. The Scripture really doesn't answer these specific questions. So I think you are entitled to come up with whatever conclusion that you want to. They're open-ended. Okay? I don't know why he stole it. Okay? But I will say this, as we'll learn later on. 10 shekels of silver is what Micah is going to offer this Levite as a yearly wage. So if 10 shekels is 1 year, 1,100 shekels is 110 years of savings. That's a heck of a lot of money that this young man stole. Okay? So, somehow or another, when Mom found out the money had been stolen, she utters a curse. She didn't use cuss words. She uttered a curse against the thief. So she probably gave a negative blessing, a counter blessing to the thief, not knowing it was her son. But her son hears the curse. And maybe that's why he returns the money, not because he's convicted, not because he's sorry, but because of the curse. Mom has cursed the thief. He's the thief. He's just confessed. He doesn't want the curse to come true. Keller asks this question, open-ended. At this point in the story, is Micah, and I'm using Keller's term, a spoiled brat? Yes, yes. Looks like, okay. So the mom blesses her son. She returns the curse with a blessing. So let's take another look at a question that I'm going to ask you. And we're going to make this personal and relevant. So this will be photo number 3. If one of your family members stole a lot of money, one of your family members stole a lot of money from you, in this case, as we'll learn, a year's wages, but then decided to return it, what would you do? What would you do? If a member of your family stole a bunch of money, in this case, 110 years worth of savings, what would you do? They take it, but they return it. What would you say? Where's the interest? Where's the interest?
I forgive them, but be sure to keep tighter rein on where my money goes.
You'd forgive, but keep a tighter rein, lock up your money and your possessions. Anybody else? You wouldn't trust them. Would it take a while for them to regain your trust? Yeah. Well, you saw what Mom did. I'm going to make my son an idol. Okay? Now, 1,100 shekels. That's what each of those 5 governors of those 5 Philistine cities paid Delilah to betray Samson. So we see that 1100 coming up again. Now, a couple of questions. This is from Scripture, open-ended. The Bible doesn't say, so you're more than welcome to yell yes or no. Question number 1. Does mother get her son Micah a promise not to steal again? We don't read that. 2, is there any attempt from the mother to ask him, why did you steal my money? No, mom does not pursue that. 3, do you think this money was his inheritance? We don't know. We don't know. Does Micah ever say he's sorry? No, he doesn't. What are some life lessons for you and me? Don't steal. Have better relatives. Years and years and years ago, while my mom was outside in the yard and Dad was at work, I went into his, what we call a schiffer robe, where Dad would keep his suits, because as the plant superintendent, Dad always had to wear suit and tie and coat. And I stole money from his coat pocket, along with my friends Jim and Donnie and Ray. And I won't give you their last names because I just won't. We went down to the Farm Bureau Co-op in Seymour, Indiana. And I boldly walked into the store and I said this: my dad wants a pack of cigarettes. It's from my dad. And I plopped down the change. He gave it to me. It's from my dad, right? So we go back, and on 3rd Street, there is this vacant lot where we boys would play cowboys and Indians and cops and robbers and baseball, and we sat out there in that lot. We were so cool. I mean, we were beyond cool. But we smoked. Jimmy's mother saw us. Jimmy's mother made 3 phone calls. Donnie's mother, Ray's mother. See, back in the 50s, the dads all worked and the moms stayed home making a list of all the things we did. And the last call from Henrietta was to Glenna Shepherd. Jimmy was grounded. Donnie was grounded. Ray's father was a physician in Seymour. He made his son smoke a pack of cigarettes. Here's what my dad said: son, you lied. You lied. You really shouldn't have done that. Now, my dad believed in spanking, so I thought, okay, here it comes, you know, the hand of learning to the seat of education. But here's what my dad said to me, which I've kept forever until this day. Son, you disappointed me. Son, you disappointed me. That was more pain and more hurt than any spanking R.J. Shepherd could ever give. I learned a very valuable lesson then. If I ever want to smoke, just ask Dad. No, because Dad did smoke. No, I learned, don't betray my parents, and don't lie. A very valuable lesson from my father, who never got out of the 8th grade. Okay? So, we don't know all these things about Mom. She takes the money, 200 shekels, gives to a silversmith to make an idol for Micah's house. Now, if 10 shekels is 1 year's wages, then as we've said before, 200 shekels is 20 years worth of wages. This is going to be some idol. This is going to be some shrine. Now, where's the remaining 900 shekels? Don't know. We don't know. So let's pick up with the last verses to finish the chapter reading. I'm going to pick up in verse 5. Now this man, Micah, had a shrine, and he made an ephod and some household gods, and installed one of his sons as his priest. So he's got multiple sons. In those days Israel had no king. Everyone did as they saw fit. A young Levite from Bethlehem in Judah, who had been living within the clan of Judah, left the town in search of some other place to stay. Think, he's looking for another job. Okay? That's why he's moving. He's looking for another job. On his way, he came to Micah's house in the hill country of Ephraim. Micah asked him, "Where are you from?" "Well, I'm a Levite from Bethlehem in Judah," he said, "and I'm looking for a place to stay. I'm looking for a job." Then Micah said to him, "Live with me and be my father and priest, and I'll give you 10 shekels of silver a year." Now that's where we get the idea that 10 shekels were a yearly wage. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's the commentators that I'm using said that's where they get the idea 10 shekels was a yearly wage. So I'll pay you 10 shekels. Okay? Live with me. And the young man became, and by the way, I'll give you 10 shekels of silver a year, your clothes, and your food. Pretty good deal? When I started teaching in Frankfurt in 1965, I rented a room upstairs on the second floor. Martha Richards and Bill Richards were my landlady and landlord. He ran one of the lumber companies in Frankfurt. For $20 a week, $20 a week, 1965, I got room, board, and she fixed evening meal. She also did my laundry. $20 a week, pretty good deal? Yeah, because Martha was an unbelievable good cook. Now, I didn't have a garage for the car, but that's okay. You leave the car on the street. But I thought for $20, that's not a bad deal. So, Levite, 10 shekels a year, food, clothing, and be like my dad. Okay? Then Micah installed the Levite, and the young man became his priest and lived in his house. Now, notice what Micah says. Now, I know the Lord will be good to me, since the Levite has become my priest. Now, there's a couple things we need to know. One, Micah has a shrine. Two, he's going to have an ephod. And we'll look at that in just a minute. Three, he's going to have some household gods. We'll look at that in just a minute. He's going to make one of his sons a priest. What's wrong with that? Hey, son, you're going to be my priest. What's wrong with that? It wasn't from the tribe of Levi. It wasn't a kinfolk of the first priest, Aaron. Micah, you have no right to make your son a priest. Okay? Now, this Micah, by the way, is not the prophet Micah. This man is just Micah. There is a minor prophet. He's sandwiched between, he comes before Nahum. I've all forgotten Jonah, yeah, he's between Jonah and Nahum. That was the prophet Micah. They're called minor prophets not because they didn't do anything, it's because they have small chapters. Maybe 4 or 5 chapters, and that's why they're called minor. Okay, this Micah is not the prophet. Okay? So, he had no authority to do this. All right? So we're going to take a look at another PowerPoint. It's from Exodus. And we're going to take a look at what's wrong with this. Now, if you have the time, you can go to Exodus chapter 20. That's the second commandment. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not have idols. But allow me, please, to read what Deuteronomy says. And I'm going to pick up in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 15, 17. Okay, this is God talking. You saw no form of any kind the day the Lord spoke to you at Horeb out of the fire, talking to Moses. Therefore, watch yourselves very carefully, so that you do not become corrupt, and make for yourselves an idol, an image of any shape, whether formed like a man or a woman, or like any animal on earth, or any bird that flies in the air, or like Barney Fife or Mr. B. No, I'm sorry, that's not in my Bible, okay? Or like any creature that moves along the ground, or any fish in the waters. And when you look up into the sky and see the sun, the moon, and the stars, all the heavenly array, do not be enticed into bowing down to them and worshiping those things the Lord your God has apportioned to all the nations under heaven. That's exactly what Micah has done. So let's take a look at some of these things so you'll get an idea of what they look like. We're going to take a look at the priestly garment, which is the ephod, and there you see the garment that the priest would wear. Now, the idea behind the garment, it would contain many jewels. It was very wealthy, very heavy. The priestly garment, the ephod, was like for divination, to divine God's will. So when people came to the priest and asked the priest, what should we do? What should my family do? What should our tribe do? He would touch those precious stones and pray to God, asking for God's guidance, asking for God's answer. So this is a holy piece of garment. It's a holy piece of garment. Micah is going to have this in his house. You think, is this the first time? No, I'm glad you asked that question. First time was Judges chapter 8. Gideon talks to the troops and said, listen, we've just won a great victory. We ought to celebrate. I'll tell you what, why don't you take the jewelry, all that gold earring from your ears, men in those days wore earrings, and we're going to mold it down, and I'm going to make an ephod. He had 1,700 gold shekels in Judges chapter 8, and from that, he will make this ephod. He'll take it to a town called Ophrah, and it became a shrine. And when you read Judges 8, that shrine that they worshiped became a snare to the people and to Gideon's family. That's exactly what Micah is going to do here. There you see, and I'm going to mispronounce this, the teraphim. Those are portable idols. You see, the neat thing, if I worship Barney, when I go out to the garage, I can put this on my workbench and worship Barney. If I'm mowing, I can put this around my neck and worship Barney, right? These little idols are portable, man-made. Sit, okay? He never does what I tell him to do. And this is what we're going to see in Micah's house. So we're going to move from that to household shrines. And I want you to see an example of a household shrine. Now, those of you in the audience, there are some images there. Can you see to shout out what you see in that image? What are some things you see? Virgin Mary, a bird, American flag, an eagle, Jesus on the cross. Okay, you get the idea of a worship shrine of an idol in somebody's house. Now, these are homemade shrines. At this point in the lesson, do you see anything wrong with having a household shrine in your house? Yes. Why? You're worshiping idols? We appreciate the gift more than the one who gave it to us. Well, is it possible that we spend more time worshiping those man-made idols than we do worshiping the Spirit? Remember, the Hebrew people were in captivity in what country? Egypt, okay? And the Egyptians had images and symbols and statues like a bull that you could see. I mean, you could actually see those shrines. Can you see God? No. So maybe, I'm not defending Micah, but maybe one of the reasons why some Hebrew people had these shrines and these man-made images was because they could see it, they could touch it, they could feel it, as opposed to God the Spirit. I don't know. I'm not defending them. I'm just trying to get inside their head to think what they thought. Okay? So we're going to take a look at some questions. Great. Why make a household shrine? Can you really make an image that connects to the creator of the universe? Be kind of tough, wouldn't it? Do we try and make God in our own image? Do we try and make God, the creator of the universe, in our own image? If the answer is yes, then do we become our own God? If we create God in our own image, then do we set the standard of right, wrong, good, bad? Sure. That's exactly what we do. So let me mention this gentleman's name. He's an author. I'm going to butcher his last name, so I'll spell it. His name is Eric Metaxas. M-E-T-A-X-A-S. M-E-T-A-X-A-S. Metaxas. He's written quite a few books. Probably one of his most famous is on Dietrich Bonhoeffer. The other, a huge book on Martin Luther. But he wrote a very popular book, 7 Men and Why They Were Famous. 7 Men, Why They Were Famous. That book becomes so famous, he was asked, write another one. So he did. It's entitled 7 More Men. One of the men is Alexander Solzhenitsyn. And in that chapter on 7 More Men, here's what he said. Solzhenitsyn always wore a necklace with the cross of Christ. Before he would go to bed at night, as a child, the last thing he saw above his bedpost was an icon. Now, the author doesn't say what the icon was. Virgin Mary, Jesus, some Russian priest. I don't know what the icon was. And the author doesn't say the icon was worshipped. He just said the last thing that Solzhenitsyn saw before he went to bed was this icon. Many years later, after Solzhenitsyn had done his 8 years in the Gulag under Stalin, he came to the United States, and he and his family moved to Cavendish, Vermont. In their house, they had a home chapel. And they had that chapel in their home so that if any visiting Eastern Orthodox priest were to come to their home, he would conduct church. And all the Solzhenitsyn family members wore the necklace with the cross. I'm not suggesting that Solzhenitsyn worshipped those idols. I'm just saying he wore a cross as a reminder of what that cross stands for. Some men and women who go to Bible colleges, if they get a college ring, what will that ring sometimes have on it? A cross. So I'm not suggesting that that's what Solzhenitsyn was doing. He just had some kind of a physical, visible reminder of what was taking place. So, let's talk about these idols. Okay? Let's go to Exodus chapter 24. Moses has been on the mountain. Are you ready? 40 days and 40 nights. That's about 6 weeks. He spent 6 weeks on the mountain with God. In the meantime, the people down in the valley are getting anxious. Aaron, where's Moses? Aaron, where's Moses? He's not going to come back. He led us out of the promised land, and he's abandoned it. He's never going to come back. There's that stupid cloud that's been there for 6 weeks. Aaron, let's make an idol and worship that. That's exactly what Aaron did. He took the jewelry from their ears and he made that golden calf. And they made a little shrine. It's all in Exodus 24. So you've got the idol, this golden calf, and the shrine. And they're worshiping that shrine, which means they're probably dancing and moving about. And guess who comes down the mountain? Charlton Heston. No, Moses. He sees him. He gets angry. What does he do? He throws the 2 tablets on the ground. God is angry. What does he say? I'm going to kill him. Yeah. The word that God uses in that story is they have become corrupt. Moses pleads with God, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. So Moses, in a fit of anger, righteous indignation, takes that golden calf, throws it in the fire, melts it down, grinds it up, puts it in water, and what does he make the people do? Drink it. And then he says, anybody for me and God, come over here. And all the Levites come. And then Moses tells the Levites this, draw your sword and kill those who did make that golden calf. And Exodus 42 says 3,000 died. Now here's my question. How do those Levites know who to kill? Bible doesn't say. Some suggestions. They were the ones dancing. Says they were reveling. They were reveling. Maybe they had a guilty look. I used to practice that a lot to try and convince Mom and Dad I was sorry, you know that. One commentator said they could be told because they were the ones drinking. Bible doesn't say that. I don't know how they found the 3,000, but that's exactly what took place. Be careful of the idols that we worship. So we move on. Okay? This Levite leaves. He comes to Micah's town, and we're going to take a look at a little bit of a history of the kinfolk of the tribe of Levi. So in this next PowerPoint, here's what we learn. Levi is the third son of Jacob and Leah. In Numbers chapter 3, we don't have time to go through it, but in Numbers chapter 3 is a list of all the things the Levites had to do. Only the Levites could do these. Only the Levites could do these in Numbers chapter 3. They took care of the tabernacle, the tent. They began serving at the age of 25, and they could serve for 25 years. When they got to the age of 50, they went into semi-retirement. They still worked, but not full-time as a Levite. The Levite was concerned with the law of Moses. Every dot, every comma, every semicolon. When you read the New Testament, what was one group of people that Jesus was always encountering? Oh no, here come not just the Pharisees, not just the Sadducees, the Levites. Because they were very, very strict. No gray matter. Okay? Now remember, not all Levites were priests, but all priests had to be a Levite. Okay? So in Canaan, the Levites cared for the upkeep of the portable tabernacle. They cleaned. They made bread for the altar. They led in music. They helped to slaughter animals for sacrifice. They checked for leprosy. Later on, they'll take care of the temple in Jerusalem. The Levites were set apart for special service for God in the tabernacle. Each tribe was told by Moses, set aside 4 cities. That's where the Levites will live. Provide them with cattle and land. 12 tribes, 48 cities for the Levites. Okay? The Levites were supported by the temple tax. So the next time somebody gets up here and gives an offering, and they talk about the temple tax, if you're a Levite, that's important. That's where you got your wages. That's where you got your salary. Okay? So when you gave temple tax, the Levites got a portion. The Levite then in turn had to tithe that and give to the priest. So if I gave a temple tax of $10 and the Levite got $2 and he tithed that $2, the priest would get 10% of $2 is 20 cents. That's how the system worked. Don't ever take for granted that temple tax. That was important in the Old Testament. It was important in the New Testament. Okay? So, the Levite's looking for a place to live, a place to work, a place to serve. Was he looking for a bigger town than Bethlehem? Was he looking for more money? Was Bethlehem a dead, boring city? Did he want to go to the big city of Atlanta, Birmingham, Seymour? Okay, all right, we'll move on. So he's made a priest, and then Micah says this, now that I have a priest, maybe my idols and my shrine will be legitimate. So we're going to take a look at another point here with the question about Micah. This is photo number 9. Is this young Levite Micah's good luck charm? What do you think? I've got a priest. I've got a worship center. He's my priest. He's getting 10 shekels a year. Now maybe God will bless me. Do you think he sees this priest as a lucky charm? Micah wants him to be. Micah wants him to be. But I have a question, and I don't have an answer for this. Doesn't the Levite know this is wrong? Doesn't he know that Micah has no authority to make him a priest? And brother, you shouldn't have left Bethlehem. Why didn't you go to one of those 48 cities? There's 4 in Judah. There's 4 in Ephraim. Why'd you go to this guy's house? We don't know. So let's take a look at this tabernacle. This is going to be photo number 10. This is what the tabernacle at Shiloh might have looked like. It's a little more concrete there than the portable tent. So standing around that would have been the Levites. Now I think it's important for us to understand Shiloh was a holy city. Shiloh was the holy city long before Jerusalem. Shiloh is where you went to worship. Shiloh is where you went to see the priest, to see the cloud that God was in, to have the priest answer your prayers. Not Micah's house. Shiloh. Okay? That was the holy city long before Jerusalem. So, we conclude with this. Micah has just made his house holy. Or so he thinks. So let's close with a series of questions. They're open-ended. 1. We can be sincere. Well, we can be sincerely wrong. Micah wanted a priest. Micah, you're wrong. Listen, I could get up and tell you. That today I'm starting to train swimming. I'm going to go in to a pool 3 hours a day and swim, because come June, I'm going to swim the Chattahoochee from start to finish. I could be sincere in that. I could be sincerely wrong. And, what's worse, sincerely dead. Okay? Micah, be careful of what you're sincere. 2, be careful of what we make as our idols, for when we do, we become the creator of what's good and bad and right and wrong. There are no godly standards. 3, we worship in spirit and truth, not some man-made statue. 4, be careful how you react to honor and status. Years and years ago in graduate school, 1965, in Methodist class, we had to make a unit plan. And a unit plan had to go for 2 weeks. Dr. Fred Smith said, you've got 2 weeks to make this unit plan. It's got to be at least 10 pages long. You have to have your behavioral objectives. You have to use films and film strips. 1965, all this technology didn't exist. So you got to tell me you're using a 16mm Bell & Howell tape recorder, blah, blah, blah. Got to have handouts. 2 of my professors at IU had been instrumental in working at the State Department for the United Nations. Dr. Burek, Dr. Laves. Those men so enamored me that when I took their classes, I walked out of there thinking the United Nations was the answer to the world's problems. I had been thoroughly brainwashed. The UN is the way to go. So my unit plan was on the United Nations. And I had about a 26-page unit plan. Questions, quizzes, everything. Gave to Dr. Smith. 2 weeks later, I gave him back. On the inside, A. See me after class, Dr. Smith. Yes, Dr. Smith? Mr. Shepard, Ron, call me Ron. I'd like to use your unit plan next semester as a teaching tool. Would you mind if I use your unit plan? Well, no! I walked back to the dorm thinking, I'm going to be published. I'm going to be on the Today Show with Dave Garroway. Okay? Dr. Smith is going to use my unit plan. And he did. How do I know? Second semester, my roommate, Paul Seibel, social studies major, had Dr. Smith. He came home. Hey, Ron, we used your unit plan today in Dr. Smith's Methodist class. Yeah, I know. I got an A, and he was going to publish it, and he even invited me to his house for donuts, which he did, by the way. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. Paul said, yeah, he used your unit plan on how not to make a unit plan. Oh, man. How not to do a unit plan. All of a sudden, Ron Shepard, who was on cloud 9, got his, as Mr. Bean would say, got his comeuppance. Okay? be careful when you get those honors and you get those accolades and you get those medals. Be careful how you react. Okay? Proverbs 14:12 says, "A way seems right, but can lead to destruction," as we will see next Lord's Day. So here's my last question, and I'm not trying to be funny on this. I really am not. If I made a replica of this sanctuary at 9 o'clock, or the Family Life Center at 11 o'clock, or those of you worshiping at home, if you don't go to this church and you go to another church, if you could make a replica of the worship center, the sanctuary, call it what you want, and put in my living room, bedroom, could I worship? Sure. Yes.
It depends on what you're worshiping.
Depends on what I'm worshiping.
No. If you're just simply using that as a reminder of what Father God has done for you, awesome.
So if my shrine reminds me of what he did on the cross and the empty tomb, is what Micah did a warning to you and me? See, the advantage that I have, I heard absolutely, the advantage that I have over you, I know what awaits us in chapter 18. I know about Micah, I know about the Levite, and I know about the tribe of Dan. I read ahead. I hope you will too. So I know what's going to happen next week. It ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. And it's all going to start with one man and an idol. Lord, thank you for this lesson. Thank you for Micah, his mom, and the Levite priests. Those things that we can learn from them. Learn not what to do. And I pray that we can learn what to do and learn what to not to do. So bless our study. Bless us as we go forth this week. Keep us safe. Keep us healthy. Keep us warm. Protect us as only you can. And help us to look to you for guidance and protection, because I pray in Christ's name. Amen.